Are we live? I want to say we are currently live right now. And you guys are probably wondering, especially for all the folks that tune into AOT. Yeah, let me just say this point of blank for the folks that look forward to my AOT content. Because of how many episodes I've missed out on talking about those episodes, I'm gonna save that stream for tomorrow. So look forward to that stream tomorrow. This here is for Eden Zero, which oh my god, where do I start? Where do I actually start with Eden Zero? Because I mean, look, things have been crazy. I'm gonna say that right now. Things have been legitimately crazy when it comes to Eden Zero. Um, again, I'm not surprised we're in a war per se. I'm a little surprised of how soon we've gotten here. That to me is like, whoa, hold on. We get a time skip, which is cool. And if we're gonna be totally accurate here, just judging by story arcs, I mean, we've had the year, X495 arc, and now we have currently the Kaede War arc, and 2 chapters in, like it's It's amazing, actually. It's honestly incredible just seeing what happens. And this chapter in particular had a few things in it where I was like, wait a second, I gotta go back and check on a few things because it was things I already kind of kept in mind with early on, but now with where things are going, it it really adds a lot to the story. It really, really does. And personally, I'm not super surprised given the level of quality and dedication Hero put into writing Rave Master, and to some extent with Fairy Tale. Although Fairy Tale, people always like to bring this comparison, and I want to address this right now. Is an old interview that Hero did a while ago. I want to say this was either in the volume 3 afterwards, or this was like a totally separate interview altogether. I'm gonna look back and check at some point, and I'll bring that up in the next stream. But the next Eden Zero stream discussion. To be fair, ultimately, though, let me just go ahead and say this: Fairy Tale, he wrote with that plan, which was ballsy, but he did what he did. Which I thought was cool. Rave Master, from what I remember, he mentioned how he had that story planned out, and Eden Zero is kind of somewhere in the middle, where he has the basic blueprints, the basic plot points, if you will. But the road to getting there is what's kind of making things interesting for him. And I'm not gonna lie, as somebody who is trying to work on his own original story, you know, find ways to make yourselves, a little bit more creative in the writing department. And I think doing that, again, it's a double edged sword. It's like your plot points, but connecting those dots can either work or they can't work. And I think for the most part, Hero's done a pretty good job. He's done a pretty good job connecting those dots. But I mean, let's just go ahead and dive right into the chapter because we're already like almost 4 minutes and it's like I haven't even gotten into that. So Eden Zero, chapter 182, and we get this nice, beautiful cover page with Rebecca and Couchbo having an eating contest. What do we got here? We have Couchbo with ramen, spaghetti ramen, and then I want to say that's steak or turkey. I'm gonna more so say turkey is what Rebecca's having. If not turkey, rooster, which I'm not sure how many people actually eat rooster, but that is a thing. We got a couple burgers too. No, it's turkey. It's definitely turkey. You can tell with the piece on one of the plates. But that's the point. Chapter title is called Warrior Maid 95. Now, at first I thought it was at 85, but then I went back and I was like, oh, it's actually 95. And I just want to say here off the gate, when you get to chapter 182, just starting off, we're on the planet Lendard and we see Ziggy. And he says, "So you are here, Ziggy." Or Shiki. Ziggy. Ziggy, Shiki. I mean, they almost sound similar. Almost. Yes. But my children stand in his way. And at first I was like, I wonder who this is. And then I remember the end of the last chapter, I was like, wait, it's Aknoella. Which, funny enough, we see her right over here. Will he really make it this far? I wonder. Mother of Dragons, mind, God Aknoella. And Ziggy's like, your children? You mean the dragons? I brought them into this world, of course. They are my children. And this is an interesting panel. I want to say this right now. This was an interesting set of panels that I saw here because the way Ziggy's drawn here, post his return, really stands out. And I mean in a super big way. And I say this because if you've noticed, when we see panels of Ziggy in Eden Zero after he was brought back to life, mysteriously, somehow, some way, we've always gonna see him have this menacing look to him. But this is different. There are like a few spots here and there where you're like, hold on. We see Ziggy, of course, and sometimes his reactions are hidden and he's shown from the backside, which I'm always like, now, why would you do that? And I'm again, as someone who likes to analyze things, especially in storytelling and in manga, that always sticks out. So when I saw this in particular, with the way how Hero drew Ziggy, it brings him back to the beginning of the first chapter. And we see that right over here, where we see young Shiki pointing at, "Oh, that star is moving," and you see Ziggy with a smile, like, you know what that is? It's a dragon. It almost kind of gets. It's kind of like he's obviously reminiscing about it, but the way it's portrayed here is it's kind of it showcases that Ziggy's not completely no one's completely far gone in terms of not caring about humans, but it does show he does still have some sort of, emotion left inside. That kind of showcased what Ziggy had in the first chapter of the series, which that could come back into play. That's entirely possible. And I've always mentioned this time and time again, but something kind of gets me this weird feeling that what if Ziggy's doing all this uh just to test Shiki? Now I know some people are gonna think that might be a cop out. And I think it might be a bit of a cop out too. But it couldn't say something. And if you really want to take it into consideration, like go back to Fairy Tale and look at how I'm not gonna say how Zareth was handled. That's different. How Zareth was handled was kind of a mess. But well, the way his character arc was concluded. But in terms of Zareth wanting Natsu to end his life, I was like, okay, that brings some complexities to Zareth's character. It could be that situation here with Ziggy where he feels that, and then he's kind of like, wait a second, wait, just one measly little second. That's that's something, you know. That is definitely something. But it is an interesting observation to look at with Ziggy in this situation. It is. But we go further, and he thinks about young Shiki, where we see the optimistic look. He's like a dragon, and it showcased a few layers of the Ziggy we saw originally. We see that, and even like Aknoella points out, like, what is the matter, Lord Ziggy? And wh- while he's left and done, he's like, oh, I was just thinking about Shiki. the boy I thought of as my son, and how I'm about to kill him. In a weird way, kind of reminds me of like Vader. Like, remember how Vader was, um, during I want to say Empire Strikes Back. I don't know why it took a while to uh, leave myself and thought about that, but it's kind of like that. Maybe not exactly Empire Strikes Back, but definitely in Return of the Jedi. You see these few moments here and there where you see how I was gonna say George Lucas, but the director of Return of the Jedi, which I always blank out on. But my point is, you see these few shots of Vader, almost kind of like he's taken aback, and that's kind of how I'm seeing Ziggy in the situation, where he's sort of taking himself aback in this particular situation. And to me, this feels like Ziggy is he knows things are too late, and it's kind of like he just kind of wants his life to end. Again, I could be totally wrong. I could be totally wrong here, and we could probably get something else. We could. And I know there's that whole theory people have brought up that maybe, perhaps, Ziggy could be what Shiki becomes. And for those of you, for anybody who's a Fate fan, especially Fate Stay Night, ooh, that would be something. I'm not gonna lie, that would be something, and it would be something in the hero's wheelhouse. Because again, go back to Rave Master. Look at how I was gonna say Seagrain. Seagrain was Fairy Tale. How Seacart was handled, and I mean, it could work. It could honestly work. Plus, there's my whole big speculation theory about Jame possibly being the daughter of Shiki and Rebecca in the far distant future. Could be that itself. Or a descendant. It could be a descendant too. But that's besides the point. Anyway, you see how Ziggy says, and how I'm about to kill him. And then Aknoella says, I share deeply in your aspirations for a world of only mechanical beings. The cosmos have used no need or have no need for human life forms. And even she brings this up too. She brings up something that really stood out to me. I mean, in a big way. Because she says, but I don't understand why you must kill this boy you call Shiki. And Ziggy says, because he's a human. No. She says this. No, you must have a greater reason than that. You raised him as your own and sent him to the skies, nurturing him in a belief in equality between humans and androids. And interestingly enough, we see a first person POV shot of Ziggy like looking at his hands, and I was wrong. That's my reason. With my own hands. And I want everyone to keep an eye on this shot. Everyone needs to keep an eye on like this line of dialogue. When Ziggy says, I created a threat to the universe. And the next panel shot, which is obviously the thumbnail of this entire stream, Shiki is the one who will destroy the cosmos. Now I must use these hands to eliminate him. Now, I say this because if you go back to the beginning of chapter 2, the very beginning of chapter 2, and I'm going to actually pull this up right now. So, chapter 2 of Eden Zero, which I want to say is the very first appearance from Mother. And she states this verbatim. Pull up chapter 2 real quick. The boy has begun his journey. What will he bring upon our universe? Will he become a hero of legend? Or will he wreak insurmountable havoc as a demon king? That to me was always an interesting line of dialogue that Hero threw in there. The fact that it's two paths that can be chosen. Will he become a legend that's very heroic, or will it become a force of havoc of mass destruction as a demon king? That to me was always like, I wonder. And we've seen instances in Eden Zero where Shiki's kind of led down towards like two different paths, if you will. And to be fair, as a situation where Heroes brought up with a couple other characters too, like Haru had it in Rave Master between a few paths he can choose from, and then Natsu had that too with whether he wants to be or whether he becomes a dragon or I forget the actual term, but essentially it was like, okay, do you become END or do you become a dragon? Well, it was like one of those two things. Are you dragon or human? Now that plot line again is a whole different case altogether because it's like nightmare fuel, and a feel where I'm like, all right, I get the intention behind that. I wish it was executed better, but I got it. And Shiki has that too, where and Xiaomi kind of presented that, where you have two different options to choose from. And the path that Shiki ultimately chooses, Ziggy pointed this out. You made the wrong choice. And I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's fascinating. The fact that Ziggy's saying this, I mean, are we gonna is there gonna be a point in the story where she ultimately becomes the bad guy and Ziggy's seen as like the hero? I mean, that would be something that, again, I wouldn't say is totally unexpected, but it would be a pretty big role reversal, if you will, where it's like all this time we're supposed to view Ziggy as a threat, and then it's come to find out no, it's actually Shiki. Again, I don't think we're getting that per se. I really, really don't. But the possibility is there. Anyway, enough about that. Let's actually move past this. So after that, we see the dragons from Agnoella and what the Eden Zero crew's doing. Shiki saying dodge it as the attacks are going through. We see um Laguna, we see Wise, they breathe fire, we see Pino. It's like, wait, they breathe fire. Technically it is a hyperthermic laser beam. Pino's always it's such a treat to bear witness to every time she shows up. Like I still remember I was watching the anime, she's like, exploitation detected. Us. Why? That's just amusing to see. And then we see Hermit launching scorpion missiles as she's using, as stated, launching the missiles over at the dragons and destroying some of them. Elsie doing the same thing, and likewise we see some of uh Holy's servants, if you will. And I'm already blinging on the name. I feel bad. Our main cannon aren't. Our main cannons aren't affecting the dragons, and then we cut back to Sister Ivory. Damn it! It got thicker skin than the one at Dragonfall. The attacks are going through. I mean, there was a lot of dragons. There was obviously a way lot of bigger dragons, if you will, than given the last chapter. And the next person we see, I'm going to assume this is just Rebecca here talking, because Elsie and or not Elsie, but Rebecca and Clean hairstyle was I'm not hairstyle was no, it's Rebecca for sure. Because I was like, nah, the hairstyle's almost similar, but yeah, we see Rebecca going like Elsie ships, and yeah, don't worry, they're unmanned. Still, this isn't a great situation And then, holy, holy fleet, what are you doing? Eliminate the dragons. And thus, we get Ivory again. Roger that. The Midnight isn't a bunch of junk like Elsie's fleet. Firing special anti-dragon ether cannons is what one of Hold on. You know what? I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna like actually go back to the last chapter because these cats are somewhat relevant to the current situation. So it's best to know these guys' names. Ultimately. Okay, so we got Hyoga, we got Gwen, we got Bremen, and then there's no. This is on Elsie screen. So it's Ibuki and Shiro. So Ibuki's the one that we're seeing right now. Firing special anti-dragon ether cannons. As it's going through, dragons are getting eliminated, and Hermit's kind of shocked, like anti-dragon, and Holy kind of being a little bit smug about it. I am technically still one of the Orations Ace Interstellar. Of course, I consider the possibility that we would have had to fight at Noella. True, I mean, it's not surprising that given that she's from the opposing faction, she would probably have some countermeasures, but she was a little surprised that, oh, like that I wasn't expecting at all. I was not expecting one bit. And once again, Irie says, nice, nice, and blow them all away. See the dragons go through, all getting destroyed. We see Ibuki, we see Shiro. Still, it won't be easy to beat so many, but I believe we can buy some time, is what Ibuki's saying. Then, Hermit. I see anti-dragon ether. If I reconfigure the ether's genetic material, I might be able to make some artificial anti-dragon ether. Don't be silly. Do you have any idea how many years it took for us to develop the ether? What Holy saying. And Hermit's like, done! I got it done! Which again surprises Holy. He's like, wait, that actually happened? Huh? I'm sharing the exchange format with Shiki, Elsie, and all the rest of you. Use these ether bullets. They should actually damage the dragons. Shiki says, got it. We're taking out the dragons, still going through. Yes. And holy, what formidable children to grow at such terrific speed. Interestingly enough, with sweat kind of dropping off the side of her cheek. And then Wise. Well, it is hurting the dragons, but it takes way too much ammo to take them all down with just one of them. Which is a fair observation point. And there's Clean. The forced reconfiguration, it uses up the forced reconfiguration. It uses up extra ether. And Herman once again says, I'm on it. This will work better in a close combat situation. Hamori, you're up. Understood. Which, always says close combat. You have night gear on the ship too? Hamura's personal fighter, running on an original OS. EZS94, which is an intuitive feedback system that throws all the old pilot concepts out the window. And I'm not gonna lie. Well, when I saw this in particular with Hamura's like battle armor gear, I was like, dude, that looks epic. I'm not gonna lie. All systems green, now launching, and we get Warrior Made 95 to arms, which is I'm not surprised that it's very reminiscent of her master. It's very reminiscent to how Valkyrie looked technically to a degree, but I like it. I think the design of it looks like pretty cool. It's kind of got a little bit of not like ancient knight armor per se, but definitely if you watch like a lot of maybe King. Yeah, King Arthur could be a good example. Um, you could even argue Game of Thrones too. But situations like that, it's almost similar to where you've kind of got like a somewhat of a knight attire to it, but you've also kind of got that samurai esque presence to it also, and I think that really stands out, and it's cool. I am a poor. uh, I am a poor markswoman. I cannot fight in space save for this method. She's doing all of this. She got the katana out and Hermit linking artificial anti dragon ether, DS ether to Warrior Maid 95's equipment. Hamura Kogetsu, the Sword of Edens, to battle. Warrior Maid single sword attack, falling dragon flash him. Oh my god, dude! Like this double page spread, not double page spread, but this panel, if you will. I mean, look, Hero has been killing it in the art department. Like no one's gonna take that away from Hero at all, at all. Like the art and the amount of detail Hero puts into it is incredible. And then Shiki now, and then we see Captain Connor, Eden Zero. Uh, actually, well, let me go with the proper Captain tone. Eden Zero, and that actually doesn't sound quite captainish. And all accompanying vessels prepare to storm Lendard. I was trying to sound like a pirate, but obviously did not pan out the way I imagined it to. So I do apologize in advance for that. But essentially, Eden Zero and all accompanying vessels prepare to storm Lendard. Laguna's there. We see, I was gonna say Sean. Why am I blanking on this guy's name? I know at the top of my head who he is, and it's okay. Laguna's there, obviously. Wise is there. It's time to begin Operation Planet Eater. And that is where the chapter ends, which, again, is a really cool chapter. I like what we're getting, and the direction of everything is cool. It is really cool. We get a lot of stuff between, and I say a lot of stuff, but more so, maybe the first start of the chapter, heavily dedicated to Ziggy and the way his thought process is being showcased and the way his body language is shown. It's very interesting to view how everything's gonna go with Ziggy. And like I said, it could be a case where we pan things off in a different direction and possibly shift sides where Ziggy could ultimately be the good guy in the end, and then she could be the antagonist. I'm not saying I believe that. Possibilities there, and it's a situation where I think Hero could go into ultimately. But it does lead to a theory I have that there is still an ounce of emotion left in Ziggy. And we've seen this every, like, slightly. A lot of times, we're just, whenever we see Ziggy in those scenarios, he often turns away. We don't see his expression. Here, we actually got to see his expression. Because if you remember, in the Eden's One arc, when we saw Ziggy and Elsie showed up, he just turned around and said, "We're going away. We're going away." It's like, now why would you do that? Why? And we didn't get to see the back of Ziggy this time. We actually got to see, his facial features, how he's actually feeling about this whole thing, feeling a little nostalgia. So who knows? Overall, though, again, the Ziggy stuff I thought was really fascinating. And the action stuff, spot on. Pretty spot on. You know, ultimately though, when it comes to the chapter, I do wish we got more. To me, it was like I wanted more for the chapter. I really wanted more. But with what we got, I'm gonna go and say great plus. It's a great plus chapter of Eden Zero, and oh my god, honestly cannot wait for the next chapter. I cannot wait for the next chapter of Eden Zero. But given that, I actually want to see what a lot of you guys have said because I've noticed that we've gotten some comments here. I think Eden Zero is good, but there are better manga than it is like JJK. Well, in a way, you could say yeah, JJK is a little bit better. Granted, JJK, from what I heard, is going to be ending within a year or two. So I'm gonna say this right now: anytime an arc reaches its end point, that's when now I get cautious as well because I'm like, I've seen situations like this before where you have great series, and then we get to the final arc. Final arc can be really good, and then ending comes around, and it's like a slap in the face. So you know, Rave Master is way better than Mid Fairy. Obviously, I mean, to be fair, I think Grave Master is even better than Eden Zero. Though I'm only seeing that at this point in time. There's a chance, though, that Eden Zero could have the potential to supersede Grave Master. There's definitely that possibility. But we gotta wait and see. And hey, Blue's here. Hey bud, how's it going? Uh let's see what he had to say. To think that Ziggy teamed up with two of the six, if he has teamed up with the last one, I'll start to wonder if we really are in the final arc. And I've seen a couple people make a few claims like that, that maybe we could potentially be in the final arc and the final cosmos of Eden Zero. And here's the thing. Before we got the name drop of the Yukino Cosmos, I would have probably said, yeah, and we could have probably, this could have easily been the final saga of Eden Zero. But because we know now that there's still a Yukino Cosmos saga out there, that's most likely going to be the last saga. And I don't think for a fact this is going to be the end all be all. It's going to be very, I think it'll be kind of reminiscent to the Kaede War arc, if you will, if not in a totally different scenario. And I think the stakes are going to be so much higher. It's not even funny. It really is not going to be funny where things go from here. But who knows? Who knows? Let's see here. Yeah, I think Ziggy's actions don't justify testing Shiki at this point. No, and it's like I said, that's just a theory. That's a theory I have in particular. I'm not saying that's a definite thing, but I know there's something about Ziggy still kind of points me out to kind of just points out that maybe things aren't as what they seem to be. There is something I feel Ziggy's hiding that we don't know about yet, and we are gonna get some revelation in some way, shape, or form because we still don't know the backstory of Shiki, the full backstory, how he ties in the mother, how exactly Ziggy came across him, and all that, you know, which is going to be the big fascinating thing to me, personally, when we do get that revelation. And who knows, again, this could all tie back into Xiaomei too, because like I said, one of my big theories, if you were to ask me my biggest possibility on a theory coming true, I think Xiaomei could potentially be the daughter of Shiki and Rebecca, and I've said that a couple times in a few streams. So if there's a theory I'm betting on, I'm gonna say I'm betting more on Xiaomei having a much bigger connection to Shiki and Rebecca than what we're being led to believe. Then the biggest observation to me is the fact that she's the narrator of the story. So it's not too much of a stretch to think that, yeah, maybe she could be related to those two. Maybe. Whether she is their daughter or a a far great descendant of theirs, if you will. Let's see here. Blue also says if Eden Zero was a darker series like Attack on Titan, I could see the possibility of Hero going the evil route for Shiki. Yeah, no, that's the thing. I don't think it's that. Um, I could see it to where Shiki indirectly causes those events. I don't think it's going to be a case where what happened to Aaron is what we see happen to Shiki. I'm not saying it's like Shiki will be the direct cause of it, but maybe what Ziggy could be referring to as destroying the cosmos could be that stuff happens to Shiki and it indirectly causes like a domino effect and you know causes havoc to the cosmos. Again, not saying that Shiki does this directly, that he's the direct cause of it. It's a side effect that happens because of it. And that would be a neat little way to spin that trope on its head, where it's like, well, he didn't exactly cause it, but it damn sure was a side effect of it. That's for sure. But who knows? We'll see. Some fans will probably say Rave Master is better because it's the older work of Hero. I mean, it was the first series Hero ever did for Rave. Heroes ever worked on before Fairy Tail. And well, Blue, you also have to keep this in mind too. When it comes to Rave Master, this was also at a time before the internet was like super, super big. So it comes to that situation too, where the internet was just starting off. And when Rave ended, that was like just 1 year before Fairy Tail even started. And a lot of people could argue Fairy Tail wasn't exactly super known until we got the anime. It's just that the situation Eden Zero is in right now was more so due to the reputation Fairy Tail had and why people know about it is because well, Hero did Fairy Tail, obviously. Obviously, if there's one thing I'm going to say right now, people are always gonna recognize Hero for doing Fairy Tail, obviously, because that's the one that gave him the most recognition in terms of name and uh, popularity, if you will. But if we're talking better written, Rave Master's ultimately going to take that cake. Ultimately. And like I said, when it comes to an author, this is the big thing I want everyone to take away. When it comes to being an author, you got to an author's mind that can work going from one series to another. So that's something I think people should just take into account. And then the last thing that Blue said is, would you describe this current war arc as a battle, a raid, or full scale conflict? That's the thing. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could call it a raid since you've got what's it called? Because you've got the Eden Zero crew, you've got Elsie's fleet, and you've got Holy's fleet. I would probably classify it as a raid, if you will, but maybe you could even argue that's a full scale conflict because you've got um multiple factions against a single common enemy. It could be that too. So and I say single common enemy, but even Ziggy has its support too from Deadend Crow and now Godak Noella. But who knows? The peak of Fairy Tail's popularity was the last arc before the 7 year time skip. Then many dropped during the Grand Magic. Yep, that is a pretty known fact. Obviously, it's a pretty known fact when it comes to fairy tale. But if I'm to correlate that to the peak of Eden Zero, I mean, it's crazy. A lot of people want to see right now the peak of Eden Zero could be the Belial Goer arc, which is the arc where we just fought off against Dragon Joe. Which the anime hasn't covered that yet, and I'm going to be super curious how the anime tackles that. I want to say it's the Owl War. Personally, I think the Owl War has done a lot for the story of Eden Zero and the direction of where things could go. And this arc could be the potential of it being the peak of the series. It could. But again, I just want to say this right now. When it comes to storytelling, especially like if things are ongoing, people can say, "Oh, this is the peak" when things are ongoing. But then once a story ends, it kind of gives you that retrospect and go like, "Wait, let's actually take a step back and actually view the story as a whole now from start to finish. Where did the story peak?" And Rave, it's actually debatable where you think the story peaked for Rave. It really is because Rave has a lot of good stuff. A lot of people could argue it's when Haru meets his dad, what happened with Seagrain, the entire mystery with Rebecca. There's a lot. Um, Fairy Tale, a lot of people want to say it was Tenro Island. I like to kind of debate it's the Tartarus arc. Personally, I think Tartarus is where like Fairy Tale like last beat, and in Naruto's case, probably Pain for sure. Even though I have my gripes with the first half of Part Two, Pain arc was definitely where Naruto peaked. One Piece, that's a tough subject in all of itself. But Bleach, huh? Ronker Saga, Soul Society, maybe even arguably the first half of the Thousand Year Blood War arc, which I'm so pumped to see. It's gonna be so exciting. And then of course it's Attack on Titan. Definitely the Memories of the Future chapter, which is when we got into Paths with Aaron. For sure. I would say that's where Attack on Titan last peaked. But Eden Zero, like at this point in time, I'll say it was the Alloy War. The Alloy War arc so far has been the peak of the series, and this arc could just elevate that to a much bigger degree. It could really, really elevate that. And well, I went above what my expectation was when it came to the runtime because I thought, maybe this stream will probably last like 30 minutes. We went a little bit above, close to 45 minutes, but I had a lot of fun. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Despite how long some of these streams turn out, guys, I have a lot of fun doing them and discussing manga content with you guys when it comes to things like this, like even anime content. Whether it's through, doing live reactions, whether it's doing, just simple discussion videos, it's a lot of fun. And the next chapter, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be doing a live reaction to because I'm actually still trying to get my computer room set up. That's gonna still take a little bit of time. So for the time being, we're still gonna be sticking to uh just chapter discussions. But hey, as long as Eden Zero is going on, and as long as we stick to this level of quality from Hero, and as he showcased that with us, with the story so far, I'll still be here. So let me know what your guys' thoughts were on the chapter. What was your favorite parts about it? What was your gripes with the chapter? Again, my gripes, you kind of boil that down to nitpicks because I wish we got more stuff, but in terms of like the story. But that being said, you guys, that's all I gotta say when it comes to this chapter of Eden Zero, and I can't wait for the next one to drop. Which, if I want to be accurate here, I think they drop somewhere between Monday night and Tuesday night, somewhere between there. And when that chapter does drop, expect another stream like this. So until then, you guys, I'm Lokichi7. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more Eden Zero content, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace and Magic Attack!